very much again. In a place with the history of this hall, it's extraordinary to think about how recent our history is. That's sort of my thought for the day. When was it that these trusty phones, invented of course by Motorola, got completely replaced, and you'll never see them, there are warehouses full of them around, I'm sure, by powerful supercomputers like this Droid, also by Motorola, one of the most successful phones over the last year, maybe 9 months in its launch. When did that happen? How did it happen? In many ways, it happened because we got it finally together. We turned these things from phones into supercomputers. And when I say supercomputers, I mean supercomputers, because there's 1 billion computers that are linked via Wi-Fi or a 3G, or in this case, an LTE network that is available to you wherever you have coverage. What's the biggest issue here in New York? Not enough bandwidth for all the people who deploy all of these cell phones. Everybody understands. They really shouldn't be called cell phones anymore. They should be called mobile computers. The other thing that happened in the last few years, which to me was even more surprising, because we expected this transition, was a behavioral transition of programmers and users to what we call mobile first. I grew up, and most of you grew up, in a world where it was the PC first, or the Mac first. But it is astounding to me, and surprising me every day as I travel around the world, that at least in the developed world, many people are able to operate their lives, their work, their personal lives, their entertainment on these devices, and they're happy. They're happy with the smaller screen. They're happy with the convenience. And in fact, if you think about it, this is an even more powerful computer because it has a location. And it's something you can carry with you all the time. And imagine further, every one of you has one of these devices of some kind in your pocket. You would never let somebody else use it, and no one else would take it with you. It's like a huge faux pas, unless you really think about it. That's how personal and extraordinarily powerful these devices are. So as we all know, what happened was this was more than just a phone and more than a supercomputer, but it was an ecosystem. And we were fortunate to come up with an approach through Android, we being Google, over a 5-year period at roughly the same time, that has produced an ecosystem of a size that I never expected, which is growing so fast it's hard to keep up. The numbers are so staggering. The ecosystem exists because there's multiple hardware providers, there's an open source licensing, and there are many, many people developing software and applications and so forth, and you've seen all those statistics. But to give you an example of the scale of this, there are now 1.3 million Android device activations per day, as of today. Do the math. Out of that, about 70,000 are tablets, and then that's per day, and that's growing very fast, because of course we were late to market for that compared to your competitors. But even more importantly, the installed base of the Android ecosystem is now close to 500 million. It's about 480 million as of today. This puts us in the #1 position from an Android platform perspective in the world by far. And depending on what numbers you use, a factor of 2 or 3 larger than the other choices. To give you an example, ComScore quotes numbers of market share in the US. Many people don't believe this because of marketing and branding or their own perceptions. ComScore numbers just released 52% in the US Android, 33% iPhone, with the others following up. So the fact of the matter is that there's something about the Android ecosystem and the Android approach that's produced a platform, an ecosystem of enormous global scale, so much greater than I expected. And to me, that's why Google needed to have Motorola Mobility be part of it. Because we have to play in this ecosystem too. We have to be competitive. We have to be able to do this, and we have to do it at the state of the art. We were fortunate, by the way, that Sanjay and that team, way back when, made a historic bet. I still remember sitting with Sanjay and saying, are you really ready to do this? Are you really ready to take a bet on Android? And I will always be thankful to he and the leadership for taking a company, which is now part of Google, and investing so heavily to help make Android successful. It's just an extraordinarily active leadership at the time. And the risks that they took, which paid off, by the way, handsomely for all concerned. So Google comes along, and there's one more agent, one more thing we need to do. We need to have a leader who is really, really capable of taking Motorola mobility to where it should be as a major platform in this ecosystem. His name, of course, is Dennis Woodside. Dennis, somebody I've worked with for almost about 10 years, came from McKinsey, and managed a whole bunch of business efforts and then ran larger and larger portions of revenue of Google to the point where he ran the majority of revenue. And he said, I'd like an even harder challenge. I'd like to see something that's global. I'd like to see something that I can actually have a difference that touches people directly. And we said, we think Motorola is that bet. We think Motorola has the people, the brand, the distribution, and the underlying technology that not only we're going to buy it, but you're going to run it. It is my entire pleasure to introduce Dennis Woodside. Thank you all for coming. Dennis.